I move the motion relating to the National Climate Risk Assessment in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper. Climate change is already costing Australia more than $40 billion a year, and on our current path, that burden could climb to at least $73 billion, or some 4% of GDP by 2060. Mitigation must accelerate through rapid reduction of emissions, but ignoring the mounting risks for our communities is recklessly negligent. The status quo is leaving communities defenceless in the face of mounting risks, and too often without the safety net of insurance. We must lift adaptation investment, make polluters pay a reality, and equip local communities with the tools to stay safe, insurable and prosperous. Last Friday, I held a Climate Resilience Emergency Forum here in Parliament House. The forum gathered representatives from industry, academia, unions, government, think tanks, local councils and health to discuss the impact of the changing climate across our economy and, most importantly, how we can adapt and how we can pay for it. The cost of doing nothing far outweighs the cost of preparing for the future. In fact, delaying action will cost lives. Our current approach from the government is piecemeal, reactive and underfunded. Alongside other things, the motion calls on the government to invest 0.25% of GDP, or $4 billion per year, to climate adaptation. This investment will enable a triple dividend of climate adaptation to our economy and to Australia by avoiding losses of climate disasters, drive economic benefits, affordable insurance, new and better jobs and improved infrastructure, and bring massive social and environmental gains. The government's National Climate Risk Assessment confirms that some climate risks are already baked in. The bill for inaction is mounting. The government currently invests only $250 million per year into adaptation. This is woefully inadequate. Traditional economic models understate the risk, the social and economic costs, and the modelling from the UNSW's Timothy Neal, who presented at the forum, warned us that the outdated economic forecasting models have lulled policymakers and governments into complacency. Traditional economic forecasts only predict minor global GDP losses, but Professor Neal's work suggests the real damage could be as high as 40% of global GDP by the end of the century on the current emissions reduction trajectory. Our national cost-benefit tests must be updated. Meanwhile, the insurance protection gap is widening. Construction costs are higher, and we continue to rebuild in high-risk areas and without resilience and adaptation baked into rebuilding codes. Local governments, who are on the front line, are financially stretched, competing for short-term grants when what works is place-based, long-term adaptation. We have the plans on paper. What's missing is the scale, certainty and accountability to deliver them. The outcomes from Friday's forum are measured and economy-wide. They're calling for 1, predictable and adequate investment on adaptation by committing to $4 billion, 0.25% of GDP of investment to offset the 2% of GDP it's already costing us, and this should be locked in over forward estimates. Secondly, adaptive leadership that embeds climate resilience across our economy through a National Climate Adaptation Authority to implement the forthcoming National Adaptation Plan, coordinate across jurisdictions and monitor implementation. Thirdly, help local governments with the cost of adaptation by lifting financial assistance grants from 0.5% to at least 1% of Commonwealth taxation revenue, which is around $400 million per year, to ensure place-based adaptation and implementation. Fourthly, we need to invest in nature, as it is our greatest ally in adaptation and resilience, by updating nature-based solutions. And number 5, funding Indigenous land and sea management, which we know will deliver climate and social dividends. Then we also need to update our National Construction Code to embed resilience, expand cyclone and flood standards by risk, not postcode, and ensure transparent hazard data. It is incredibly concerning that the Albanese government has committed to a freeze of the building code for 4 years. 7, we need to build public-private partnerships with insurers to reduce underlying risk and lower premiums. And finally, we need for those that are causing the damage to pay for the adaptation by ensuring a polluters pay social and environmental model. We know that through CBAM, reform of the PRRT and so many other measures, we can ensure polluters pay for adaptation.
The motion